Tuesday, April 14th. Welcome back, guys. It's going to be one of the last times that we actually have all these teams on the board because guess what? When I made this video yesterday, we had 3 spots left. 2 in the West and 1 in the East as far as playoff spots. Now, there are 0, but we'll get into that in just a few moments. Let's check out the scores from Monday, April 13th. First game of the day, we had the Lightning hosting the Detroit Red Wings. The reason why this game was important is that the Lightning we're still trying to get a division title, and they're also trying to still figure out seeding in the East. So Lightning were able to come away with an overtime victory over the Detroit Red Wings 4-3. Panthers Rangers, 2 of your bottom teams here in the East. Panthers were able to get a 3-2 home victory over the Rangers in regulation. Flyers needed to win, and they're in. Remember, we've had this super tight Eastern Conference wildcard race for the last, month, really. It's been up and down. Teams all the way on the top looking great, and they'll go on a 4 or 5 game losing streak, and then they're going on 5 and 6 game winning streaks. Well, Philly was one of those teams on the 5 and 6 game winning streaks. They're winning games when it matters the most, and they put themselves in a situation where they controlled their own destiny. Like, as long as they didn't lose, then Columbus and Washington would be at bay. And they played against the Hurricanes, who have clinched the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. But the Flyers were able to get it done, man. Carolina, I know they rested like 4 or 5 of their top players, but they came out of the gate swinging. I watched the game. They scored the first 2 goals. Philly clawed back, and they ended up getting that 3-2 shootout win and clinching the final playoff berth in the Eastern Conference. So sorry, Washington. Sorry, Columbus. Sorry, all those teams that had great years and didn't make it. I mean, if we're looking at it, I think all the way down to New Jersey had a 500 year. So, I mean, it's just a tough way to go down swinging. But, we got the 8 best teams in the East have made it, and we've got that all tied up. So we have the Stars and the Maple Leafs was the next game. Nothing to be decided there. Dallas has pretty much got second place in the Central locked up. Toronto's down here at the bottom. Nothing to be decided there. The Wild and the Blues, again, nothing to be decided there. Blues have been eliminated. Wild pretty much have the 3rd place in the Central locked up. But the Blues did get a 6-3 victory. This was probably the biggest game of the night, besides the Philly game, of course. I mean, maybe equally as important as the Philly game. We had the Sharks in a must-win situation. The Preds in a must-win situation. The Predators being a point out of the wild card. San Jose Sharks being like 5 points out of the wild card. Sharks were able to get a 3-2 victory and try and stay alive. Preds, it's looking pretty bleak. You can't be losing to people below you in the wild card standings when there's 2 games left. I mean, it's as simple as that. Sabres Blackhawks. We watched the game, man. We're big-time Sabres fans in this house. Sabres gave up the first goal. They went on the power play early and then gave up a shorthanded goal like 13 seconds into the power play. So I was like, what the hell is going on, man? We weren't resting anybody. We're trying to win the fucking division. So, it looked really bad in the first period. I mean, until about 18 minutes into the game, we had like 2 shots on goal. We were playing Chicago's game. We were playing slow. We were turning over the puck. It did not look good. Finally, we ended up scoring a goal at the end of the first, so we went in tied, and we wouldn't look back. We would actually play the hockey that got us as far, at least since January, and we were able to pull off the 5-1 victory, so it's cool. And with that victory, the Buffalo Sabres are your Atlantic Division champions, so good for them, man. From perpetually last, for the last 15 years to winning the division is awesome. And that's why we love this sport. Let's just hope it's not another 15 years until we see this again. But, we had another game here. This one had some playoff implications. So the Avalanche have already locked up the President's Trophy. They have the best record in the West, the best conference in the NHL for that matter. They were playing the Oilers in Edmonton, and the Oilers are they have clinched. They have clinched, but they were trying to get their division. They had led the division the last couple weeks, and Vegas kind of slowly crept up on them. And I know there's only a few points separating that entire division. They needed the win. They didn't get the win. They lost 2-1 in a shootout, so they got a point out of it. But they're trying to keep the Kings at bay because they could technically fall to the wild card. They could fall to third place and not even have home ice advantage in that first series. So there's a lot at stake for the Oilers as far as seeding is concerned. They have clinched, but they kind of control who and where they play. So, if you didn't catch that, Avalanche won 2-1 in a shootout. So here was the big game. Since the Predators lost, the Kings are taking on the Kraken in Seattle. The Kings control their own destiny. And the Kings won 5-3 in Seattle. And they have also clinched a playoff spot. So the final playoff spot has been clinched by the LA Kings. So, and with the another thing with that is with that win, and I believe the Predators losing, Anaheim also clinched. They did not play yesterday, but Anaheim will not fall out of the wild card. So they could fall out of the Pacific Division because the Kings are kind of closing in on them. But they're not going to miss the playoffs this year. So with the Preds losing, the Kings winning, and just the Preds losing in general, the Anaheim Ducks and the LA Kings have both clinched the playoffs. We have 0 playoff spots left, but we have a lot of seeding to figure out in the next 2 or 3 days. And the final game of the evening was the Golden Knights taking on the Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg came in tied with the San Jose Sharks, needing an absolute miracle. And the Golden Knights beat them 6-2. Final game of the evening. So by the time they had probably dropped the puck for the third period, everything was already decided anyway. Like, as soon as LA won, it was a wrap. So, those were the games yesterday. We'll see what the standings look like wild card wise. So, let's take it from the West. Central has not moved the entire time I've been doing this. We got Colorado with 117, Dallas with 110, Minnesota with 102 points. In the Pacific, we have Vegas has been able to pull away from Edmonton. They had a 1-point advantage going into yesterday's games. Edmonton was able to steal a point. Vegas got a 6-2 victory, so Vegas now increased their lead to 2 points. And Vegas, in the event of a tie with Edmonton, they each have 1 game left. In the event of a tie with Edmonton, Edmonton would have the tiebreaker on regulation wins. So it's one thing to keep in mind. I'm curious to know what the final game is. If the final game is Edmonton versus Vegas, that would be pretty cool because it would be for the division title, even though it's a shitty Pacific Division. And 91 points wouldn't even get you. 91 points would get you to like 10th place in the Eastern Conference, 12th place in the Eastern Conference. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about winning the division with 91 fucking points. Shit is such a joke sometimes. But anyway, Vegas with 93 points, Edmonton 91, Anaheim 90. Anaheim has 2 games left to play. They technically could still win the division. They'd have to win both those games. They would have to have Vegas and Edmonton lose in regulation in their final game, which would be mathematically impossible if Vegas and Edmonton are playing each other, which I have no idea if they are or not. I'm just saying in my own little what-if scenario. Move to the wild card. Utah, 90 points. LA, 89 points. So LA could easily move over into the Pacific Division top 3 if they can win, and the division leaders can continue to lose like they have recently. Nashville is eliminated, 86 points. San Jose got a win. They moved to 84 points. Not that it matters. Not that it matters at all. But we'll just go ahead and do it for fun. I think St. Louis got a. It's not looking good. Bear with me, guys. All right, there we go. Then St. Louis with 82, but 31 regulation wins. Winnipeg with 82. Seattle 79, Calgary 75, Chicago 70, Vancouver 56. They're on a 2-game winning streak. That's probably the longest winning streak of the year for Vancouver. Moving to the East, we have Atlantic Division. Atlantic Division champions, Buffalo. They have 1 game left. They could technically be tied by either Tampa or Montreal, but they have more regulation wins, baby. Don't matter what happens. We're the champs. Tampa has 106. Montreal has 106. Those 2 teams... Yep. Scratch it. Those 2 teams absolutely will face each other in the first round of the playoffs. Who has home ice in that 7-game series is still up for grabs. So, if it comes down to a tie as it stands now, Tampa Bay would have it. Tampa Bay is ahead of Montreal. They're tied, but Tampa Bay has more regulation wins. So, if Montreal is able to win their final game and Tampa Bay loses, then we've got a different story. But as it stands now, the same outcome on the final game or a Montreal loss would mean Tampa hosts the series against Canadiens. That's going to be a great series. In the Metropolitan Division, we have the best team in the Eastern Conference, the Carolina Hurricanes. We have the Pittsburgh Penguins, 98 points. We have the Philadelphia Flyers with 96 points. So that's pretty much set in stone also. Philly versus Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh has 8 more regulation wins than Philly. So no matter what happens there, Pittsburgh will host Philly for Game 1 and will have home ice for that series. For the wild card, we have Boston at 98, Ottawa at 97. Washington has been eliminated, 93 points. Detroit has 92. Columbus has 92. Detroit's actually ahead of Columbus with regulation wins. Not that it matters, but we'll just do it right. Then the Islanders with 91. New Jersey with 87 points. Florida with 82, Toronto with 78, and the New York Rangers with 75. So, let's just see what's still at stake. So our 2-3 matchups are set, but what we need to figure out still is right here in the wild card for the East. They're only separated by a point. Ottawa has 97 points. Boston has 98. Ottawa has 37 regulation wins compared to Boston's 32. So, in the event of a tie, like let's say Ottawa gets a shootout loss and Boston just loses outright, they both have 98 points. Ottawa would then move up in the standings and play against Buffalo. Buffalo's going to get the top seeded wildcard team. Carolina's going to get the bottom seeded wildcard team, just based on playoff seeding. Buffalo's the number 2 seed. They're going to play the 7. So that's pretty much all there is to decide in the East. Coming down to it, we can see who's final game. So the Bruins hosted Devils today. And Ottawa hosts the Maple Leafs tomorrow. So that will decide everything. If Boston gets a regulation win, if Boston just outright wins, then they're the 7th seed. If they lose, they open the door for Ottawa. In the West, we have quite a bit still to decide. The Central is completely locked up. Dallas and Minnesota are going to play each other, and it's kind of looked that way for like the last 2 months. So we have that. No, sorry, my neighbor's walking around. So Dallas and Minnesota are definitely playing each other in the first round. Dallas is going to have the home ice advantage, of course. Colorado will face whoever ends up being the bottom wild card team. So LA has kind of closed the gap, and LA and Utah each have 2 more games to play. So there's still enough to be decided there to where we can't confidently say who's going to be the wild card team. Hell, Colorado could technically even play Edmonton, Anaheim, LA, Utah. They could play a bunch of different teams because it's just that tight still. And we have all 8 playoff teams decided, but we still have like a lot of seeding issues. The Pacific is still a tight race. Anaheim's only played 80 games. They're 3 points out, but they still have 2 games left, while Edmonton and Vegas only have 1 game left. So Anaheim effectively would need to win out and have Vegas lose their last game in regulation to have a chance at the division, but Anaheim still technically has a chance at the division. LA does not have a chance at the division. LA, their highest finish is second, so they could host a playoff series still, even though they've been like a wild card team this entire time. They could still get the second seed in the Pacific because they've only played 80 games. Also, as I mentioned before, Edmonton has 91 points, so LA could easily win out, and we'll just have to see. There's just too many things that could happen between the Pacific and the wild card teams. Utah will be one of the wild card teams, that's for sure. It's just which Pacific team is going to be that second wild card. But yeah, today we'll see if any of those questions will be answered with today's games. Tuesday, so yeah, Bruins hosting the Devils, so that's like gonna let us know pretty much what happens in the East. That'll be on at 4 p.m. Arizona on ESPN Plus. Islanders and Hurricanes means nothing. Canadiens Flyers means nothing. Capitals Blue Jackets means nothing. Ducks playing in Minnesota against Wild. That game has some meaning. Jets Mammoth means nothing. Avalanche Flames, nothing. Penguins Blues, nothing. Kings and Canucks. So we have about 3 games with any kind of implications whatsoever. So we got Devils Bruins again. Ducks Wild. And Kings Canucks. So 3 games that matter today as far as seeding is concerned. Then Wednesday, we'll have a few more games. And Thursday will be the final game of the regular season. So, yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this last month or so of the regular season. If you've watched these videos, yeah, I like doing this in my garage, but it's fucking noisy. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed watching these videos. It's been a whole lot of fun to put on. I know I'm not an expert, and I will dial this in and get like some kind of editing going on just so it's not so rough around the edges eventually. Maybe next year we'll take this a little bit more seriously, but it's been such a fun time doing this with you guys. And we'll continue into the playoffs, but I'm going to have to find like a new thing to do because like watching hockey just about every night is just something that I do anyway. But when I get to get my thoughts out there and talk at something rather than just having this crap rattle around in my brain, it's been a lot of fun and it's been healthy for me. So anyone who's enjoyed watching this for the last month and a half, or however long we've been doing this, really appreciate it, and you've given me something to do. So thanks very much, and we'll have to do this again tomorrow. Talk about them games. So remember, watch hockey. It's good for you.